When I lived in Mexico, I drank a liter of tequila every single day. And I stayed drunk for 2 years, basically. But this one friend of mine that I drank with, he said, when are you going to move here? And he was right. You know, the people, the real artists there, the people that were working, you didn't see them in the bars where I was every fucking night. I was, you know, trying to contribute to the Mexican gross national product or something. So what I did in San Miguel is I played bars, and there were a lot of Americans that lived there, and they were kind of starved for American music, so it wasn't hard for me to get a gig. I made what money I could and spent every bit of it in the La Cucaracha and the La Princesa and the La Perla, one of 3 or 4 bars. When I drank like an alcoholic. It doesn't get any lonelier than this. I believe my heart will break. Tonight I prayed I'd die before I wake. With every breath I'm tasting your kiss, and the sweet upon my tongue, until the bitter tears fall one by one. But it doesn't get any lonelier than this, 'cause I'm on this road alone. My heart be ringing like a hollow drum, and I'm about as lonesome as a poor boy gets. And there's nothing I can do, 'cause it's dark out here and I can't find you. But it doesn't get any lonelier than this. Hey. Wow. Yep, it's still here. That's a good guitar. That's one of the best guitars I've ever run. I mean, it was a brand new guitar when I got it. And that belt buckle is not the belt buckle I intended to donate. That's about a $750 solid silver buckle that I've intended for my sister to take off before she donated the suit, but she didn't get that part of the message. I mean, I think that what I do is still, you know, pretty true to, you know, what the spirit of country music is. I just don't, you know, fit into the parameters of what you're allowed to do musically on country radio anymore. And we refer to, you know, I mean, and it really was sort of an anomaly that I got on country radio in the first place. It was sort of, we refer to it as the great credibility scare of the mid-1980s in Nashville. It was sort of an accident. But by the time I donated that suit, I hadn't been played on country radio in a year.
I practice. I got it right.
Is Steve's star also here on the floor?
Oh my goodness. Let me try to look that up. I don't remember offhand. Oh my goodness. Hold on one second. Let me ask. Well, there's the man I need to ask. Keith Wright. Is Steve Earle's star on the floor?
I don't think so. I don't think he has a star on the Walkway of Stars. I'm not sure.
Why not?
I don't know. One of the prerequisites for the event is the artist has to agree to be present for a public ceremony, and it may have been an occasion where his schedule wouldn't have allowed him to be here, something along that line.
The Scholar Crossbones thing started a long time ago, and it just had to do with hanging out with too many heavy metal bands in the 80s, and it was, you know, we went through a period where we were sort of outsiders to a certain extent in this town, and I bought into that. I used to have a flagpole out there in the middle of the yard and flew a Jolly Roger from there, but kept the Jehovah's Witnesses away anyway.
There's one thing that, what do you mean with outsiders in this town? Do you mean like outsiders in the country established Nashville?
Yeah.
And why were you outsiders? In what way?
I don't know. What we were doing was different than what everybody else was doing. We weren't, you know, I really started out thinking that maybe things were changing, and in some ways changing back to an earlier time where people were more concerned about songs and songs that were really about something. And so I came into it really thinking I was making a contribution to country music in particular when I made Guitar Town. And truth of the matter was, the country music establishment wasn't really interested in that simply because they can't control it. They don't know how to bottle it and they don't know how to clone it. And so they don't see any value in it. So I moved on.
Long ago and far away, in a land no map can find, there lived in long forgotten days a boy who never cried. He was his mother's only child, so she never wondered why, until the news spread far and wide of a boy who never cried. From fabled lands the pilgrims came to behold the silent child. In ancient
Here's all of the kids. Now there's Stacy, and there's Steve up there with his guitar. Steven's sitting on top of the car with his guitar. He was, I would say he was 8, 9 years, maybe he's 8 years old. He wasn't very old. He knew from the beginning what he wanted to do, and I bought him his first guitar, and it wasn't too long then till he wanted to go to Nashville, and we would, and he'd get gone, and we'd miss him, and we'd go and we'd head him off, and we'd catch him somewhere up the road, and bring him back, and finally the psychiatrist told us to let him go. If we didn't, it'd ruin him. So we let him go.
Why do you think that he wanted to go to Nashville?
He wanted to sing. He wanted to play that guitar and he wanted to sing.
It doesn't get any longer than this. I'm as blue can be. Just an empty place where your love should be. And I'm sick and tired of walking around like this, with my heart outside my skin. I'm scared to death we'll never touch again. It doesn't get any lonelier than this. And there's no place I can go, and just the dusty corners that the shadows know. Oh, maybe this is good as it's gonna get, and I'll always be this way. I just wander this world calling out your name. Oh, but it doesn't get any lonelier than this.
He changed a whole lot. Yeah, but it's that's all said and done stuff that I prefer not to talk about too much, just because it's that's old memories. That's history. And it's not very it's not history that's favored too well in this family, So it's just, growing up as his son was just like any other musician's kid would grow up.
this is as close as I can get to a visual art because I'm the only person in my family that doesn't draw or paint, and I just never could. I picked up the guitar, and I never have been able to do that thing, but this is like a visual art that God helps with. And I don't know, for a while there, I think the kids thought I was retarded or something because I would sit for 30 or 40 minutes and just stare at one of these little trees, because sometimes the thing to do is nothing, and I'm new at this, so I have to really sort of spend a lot of time studying them to figure out what the next move is. This is the first tree that I've ever really sort of pruned and shaped into anything that, you know, that was really my own vision, and it turned out pretty good. But that tree got stared at for about a week before I actually started cutting on it.
But you're able to sit still for 40 minutes.
It's about the only time in my life I can sit still. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think, and that may be why I do it. Because sitting still is not my strong suit. I just, but I'm learning. And I think the most important thing is at this point in my life, I've actually accepted the fact that it's important to sit still. Whereas before I sort of thought, well, I sort of operated on the theory that it's hard to hit a moving target, so I tried to keep moving as much as possible. One of the best things about bonsai is you get stuff. I've lived in this house, you know, for 13 years, and you know, off and on, and I don't think I've ever appreciated it as much as I do now. And it's just like, you know, but I've spent a lot of years as an addict, and addicts see the same things the world over.
What you got?
Does it look better?
Yeah.
You think I overdid it? I don't
Nope.
think
Nope. I think it looks a lot better, actually.
so. Yeah,
I really do.
My first trip to Australia, I didn't even see a kangaroo. I saw prostitutes, and I saw other drug addicts, and I saw drug dealers. The same things that addicts see the world over, because all that stuff tends to go on in the same part of town.
And what did you use exactly?
Heroin. I mean, cocaine later, you know, because I just sort of got to the point I couldn't get high on heroin anymore. I didn't even like cocaine, but I did it anyway. But I didn't I don't know, I just heroin was my drug of choice, but I just finally reached a point that it didn't work for me anymore. So I started taking a drug. When I finally went to jail, I'd gone on a methadone program because I couldn't really get enough heroin in my body to even really keep me straight anymore. And then I methadone, just went and got my methadone every day, and then I smoked a lot of crack. Autumn is all about gravity. What goes up must come down. Why do you think they call her fall? Not only the leaves and the acorns rattling down the tin roof, periodically reminding this cabin where it came from, and that it too will come down one day. Every prodigal member welcome back to the soil, but the undeniable pull of the earth as she gathers her errant progeny to her breast and holds them close against the killing frost, winter's cruel outriders. The fall poem. You know, everybody should write something. I think it really helps. You know?
It helped you?
Yeah, it helps me a lot.
So what helped you with what?
Just getting from one day to the next, understanding who I am, why I do what I do, and because it's not necessary for you to understand who I am or what I do, but it is necessary for me.